and welcome. Today we are taking a very exciting look at the brand new Dart Zone Max Outlaw. Many people, including myself, have been very excited to see what this thing is all about. It finally released. It is of course a Target exclusive, and on the box we see that it's a pro level hammer action blaster. The box looks pretty good overall. It is a max blaster, so you can open it up. I am very excited to crack this thing open, so let's do that. So in the box, we of course get the Outlaw itself, 2 6-round cylinders, eye protection, 12 max ruby darts, and of course the instructions. Now that we have the Outlaw out of the box, let's go over the blaster. First off, there are actually no sling mounts or tactical rails present on the Outlaw. Kind of a bummer. I definitely would have appreciated a sling mount under the grip. Right here, of course, we have the safety. When you push it from the left-hand side, you are safe, and when you push it from the right, you're ready to fire. Now the cylinder can be manually rotated, and if you don't want to remove it from the blaster, can be loaded from the left side very easily. There is this indent right there. You can put a dart directly into the cylinder. Very easy. But if you want to swap the cylinder completely, you push it from the right-hand side, similar to the Deuce Pro, and it very easily pops out. While this cylinder swapping system is very similar to the Deuce Pro, it is not compatible with the Deuce. You can't stick Deuce cylinders into the Outlaw, and you can't stick the Outlaw cylinders into the Deuce, because the Outlaw actually breaches in a completely different way. As you can see when I pull the trigger, you can actually see the metal barrel coming in, and that's going to create a seal with this cylinder. Now at the front of the blaster, this kind of surprised me. You actually do have space to put a Dart Zone style barrel. That means you can put the crazy long suppressor thing from the Striker right on here, the barrel from the Nexus Pro that allows you to fire rival rounds, or the Scar from the Mark IV. That means the Scar barrel from the Longshot is totally compatible. So you can really play around with how this blaster looks. I'm really glad that they included this feature. And then towards the back, we have the Hammer Prime. The hammer is actually completely metal, and I think that is awesome. And of course, to prime it, we're going to pull down, and you can release it, and that is now primed. And it's worth noting that every time you pull this back, you are going to be rotating the cylinder. As far as the prime weight, it is noticeably heavier than the Hammer Shot, but of course it's going to be because this is a pro blaster. But they will be offering a weaker spring that you can install yourself, and it'll make the prime a lot lighter. I was extremely surprised to see that the Outlaw was not really that much bigger at all. In fact, though the Outlaw is slightly longer, it is actually the more lean of the two. It is definitely thinner. So to fire the Outlaw, load in a full cylinder, or rotate and manually fill it, pull the hammer back, and release, and then you can pull the trigger. So I'm sure your rate of fire would be better with practice, but it is definitely wieldable with one hand. Let's take this thing outside, put it over the chronograph, and see how it performs. We'll be using the included max ruby darts. 111. 116, 111, 120, 118, and duplicate 118. So it's definitely not the hardest hitting pro blaster that Dart Zone has put out, but what can you really expect with a hammer action blaster? I am definitely satisfied with that performance. Now let's fire some shots downrange. Very nice. Now let's head back inside, and I'm going to share my final thoughts. So what are my final thoughts on the Dart Zone Max Outlaw? Overall, this blaster is everything I wanted it to be. I mean, it's not the most powerful pro blaster, but it's a hammer action max blaster with 120 FPS performance. In my eyes, it really does live up to expectations. I really like that they're going to be giving you a lower power spring option, because that just makes this thing all the more versatile. The build quality and ergonomics are exactly what you would expect from Dart Zone. Very solid stuff. And this blaster has absolutely no rotation issues like the Deuce. It chambers very reliably every time. As someone who is a massive hammer shot fan, I really appreciate what they're doing with the Outlaw. I think if you're looking for a high performance sidearm, the Outlaw is a great option. The reliability and the fact that you can one-hand wield this thing makes it a very, very compelling blaster. Those were my thoughts on the Dart Zone Max Outlaw. If you're interested in picking one up, I'll have a link in the description. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Outlaw in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions, and happy blasting.